We're a little late to the party because of being on holiday during its release, so I wasn't able to dedicate my time to it from the get-go. However, we're here now, so what is Songs of Conquest? Songs of Conquest is a newly released early access game, newly released 2 weeks ago that is, which already throws red flags for me, but I've been following these devs for a long time and they have my full support behind them. They're transparent of how the game is being developed, have strong ideas of what the game is going to be, and have been documenting many steps of their development process. On top of the fact that Coffee Stain are publishing the game, one of the best publishing and development studios today, I'm confident in the future of the game despite early access. So, ever heard of Might and Magic? What about Heroes of Might and Magic? I know I hadn't, but knew of its history and how people adored the series. I bring this up because Songs of Conquest is a modern-day reinterpretation of Heroes of Might and Magic. The game is split up into two distinct portions, turn-based city building and world exploration, and turn-based battles. Controlling your so-called wielder, you explore the overworld of the map collecting artifacts, supplies, and buffs. Buffs can range between movement and overworld buffs to stat bonuses which help you in battles. They are found on anything and everything, from signposts to monuments, and supplies are just the same, occasionally just lying around in set locations, and other times found in bogs or other such areas. The rarer items though, artifacts, are a little bit more difficult to find. Usually they'll be guarded by an army of some kind, and will often be surrounded by other rewards, such as supplies, buffs, and gold. Artifacts are simply various equipment you can equip onto your wielder, thus making your commander and army stronger. Artifacts can be basic pieces of equipment such as leather boots or gloves to legendary staffs from ages past and armor sets. Either way, they are usually worth it. The stronger artifacts will give you significant buffs and bonuses from equipping them, giving you a significant leg up in the battles to come. Amongst the overworld, you'll find settlements of different sizes which you must conquer to help fund and support your growing army. I specify army rather than empire because the point of this game isn't to build an empire which you can rule with, it's to create an army which will scorch the land and bring ruin to your enemies. Every building in the game is used to produce resources, generate units, allow you to research buffs and improvements for your units, but everything basically revolves around making your army the best in the land. There is some trial and error, as your settlements will all have limited plots of land where you can build anything, and some larger buildings will require specific other buildings to be present before they can be built. So, if you have no plots of land spared to build the required building, then you're kind of out of luck. But then this is only a slight step back as it doesn't even take a single turn for the building to be destroyed. Sure, it may take a turn or two for the building to complete, but this is a very small setback. I'm undecided whether or not this is a desired feature, making it so easy to correct mistakes in your build priority. It takes about 1 or 2 turns to fix any mistake made previously, but then what would adding a few more turns do to help fix this? At least for the in-game campaigns, games happen relatively slowly, and as long as you're prepared against an attack, as you should be anyway, having 1 or 2 extra turns wasted to building something doesn't really affect anything. So, you're building all these settlements to build an army. How does combat work? The overworld is littered with many different armies. Walking up to it will give you a quick overview of who you're facing, their threat level against your current army, and a preparation screen. Place your hexagon of units in the available hexagons to prepare yourself for the coming battle and press manual battle to go. You are able to press quick battle if you want, but you do risk the chance of losing stacks of your enemies when you really don't need to. Each unit you have is represented by stacks. 1 stack represents 1 unit with set offensive capability. Battling units are made up of these stacks. Generally speaking, if your units have more stacks than the one you're facing, then they win. Reduce the stacks of the opposing army to 0 and you win. Of course, there are battle tactics to consider, which unit is strong against what, elevation, obstacles in battle, and so on. But if you take anything from this video, remember that more stacks is good. It's a devilishly simple system, but it requires a multitude of thoughts to quickly and efficiently remove your opposition, whilst losing as little of your own stacks as possible. It really does bore its way into the receptor in my brain which wants things done as efficiently as possible. Fighting other armies led by wielders, however, is another story. Wielders, your own included, have the ability to cast spells on the battlefield to give their own units buffs and damage your units or give them debuffs. It adds another layer of complexity to the system, making you consider more options or possible outcomes. So the gameplay is fleshed out and has plenty of room to expand and grow depending on the map you're playing on, the units you're playing and up against, and what situations you're presented with. But how are we looking content-wise? Well, currently there are 4 available factions. Arleon, noble knights and magical creatures, crusading to bring their land under control again. The Barony of Loth, sorcerers and necromancers in search of the unseen empire to bring back the days of peace and prosperity in their land. Barrier, an independent state of merchants with a few tricks of their own up their sleeves. And the Rana, a nation of swamp dwellers risen to battle by a chosen wielder who will bring all in the swamp under his banner to bring them glory. All distinct and unique, each with different tech trees, build priorities, and battling playstyles. Each faction has a campaign you can play through to learn their story and get to grips with their tech and build trees. Or at least you will be able to eventually, as currently there are only 2 campaigns, one for Arleon and one for the Rana. You see, with Songs of Conquest being in early access currently, it is missing a few fine touches and content. To its credit, at least in my playthroughs, I only encountered one noticeable bug. Occasionally when trying to investigate things in the overworld, it won't detect that you are trying to investigate a building or item until you get close enough. It's missing some quality of life improvements, like putting in a building queue for your settlements, or just the game not lagging out when you're going from wielder to wielder across the map, but overall what is here is very good. Strategy games are one of the few games which I feel benefit hugely from an early access model. Being able to balance the factions incrementally before they all have been added is a good way to ensure that one faction isn't completely overpowered compared to others, as newer factions can then be balanced around the updated state of nerfed or buffed factions. What's here is tight and is a great foundation for things to come, but to be truly great and amazing, Songs of Conquest needs to add quality of life improvements and more content. Realistically, that is 100% attainable, and I look forward to seeing the progress of the game over the coming year. One thing I can't criticize though is the music. Very relaxing and just generally a brilliant addition to the game.
Corruption met Cecilia of stout heart. Risen dead, created by some magic black art. Fought the faith, believe they've been betrayed. The barons say